not wish me a happy Thanksgiving. Let's not do that. I know you mean good, but please do not wish me a happy Thanksgiving. Let's not do that. Thanksgiving was nothing but a setup for genocide. That's all it was. A strategy for the Native Americans to drop their psychological guard so the European could genocide them, steal their land, enslave their people, and pass diseases into their community. It is a contradiction for American Africans with all we've been through.
Hello, you guys, and welcome to the Dublin's Bubble. Okay, so today we are doing our Thanksgiving special. Okay, so this is why you shouldn't be just celebrating Thanksgiving in case you didn't already know the history of Thanksgiving. Because some people argue, oh, well, it doesn't really matter because it's just to get together as a family and have a good time. But I have said this before. Imagine if somebody in your family was unalived, you know, and people made that day to be a celebration, just to get around, get along with, each other and happiness, when this day was like commemorating the death of your loved one. Wouldn't you be upset about that? Like, how evil would that sound? And how evil would it be, let's say, one of the most major recent people who have been unalived by the police, Soya Massey. What if we made that day that she, got taken out to be a day of celebration? What if the rest of the world started celebrating it, saying, oh, well, and they turned the script, came up with their own doctrine as to what actually happened when it wasn't true, and they just started celebrating it. A bunch of black people be offended, right? Well, that's the same thing with Thanksgiving. It wouldn't sound righteous, now would it? It wouldn't just sound like an innocent gathering of the family. But even if you don't think that way, this is something else you should consider.
This aunt's house you used to eat at all the time, now when you go over there to eat, guess what? You make your plate. I don't want to eat this. Why did I lose my appetite all of a sudden? Why holding this plate of food made me feel uncomfortable? Because of what they're operating in. Well, I'm going to eat anyway. I'll just pray over it. I'll just plead the blood of Jesus. I don't think so. Plate goes in the trash. I'm not eating today. Not from here. No. Because why? This person that's operating in witchcraft, that's in the occult, is feeding you from the enemy's table. This food that they're feeding you at this Thanksgiving y'all plan to go to in November, guess what? They prayed over this food. Not godly prayers. Oh, they go to church. No. Not the church you think they go to. No.
Right. Not the church you think you go to.
They're praying curses over your food. So this is the aunt that keeps everybody together. This is the aunt that makes sure everybody's good. Everybody's taken care of financially. Everybody's close and there's no issue in the family. No. Stop eating from her table. She put curses on your food.
Don't do it.
And then you look in the family. Why is this going on in the family? Why is that going on in the family? It's that aunt that you're eating at their house. Yeah, that's who it is. That finds any chance to talk to you. That finds any chance to bring you food. That finds any chance to buy you a gift, buy your kids gifts. Stop. You feel the red flag. Believe the red flag. Please just listen, because God wants to show you before the end of the year is out. God will expose this aunt's house you used to eat at.
The story of the first Thanksgiving in 1621 is often celebrated as a harmonious gathering between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag people. However, this oversimplified narrative masks a darker reality. While the Wampanoag extended their assistance to the Pilgrims, teaching them to farm and fish, their generosity was met with betrayal in the years that followed. The Wampanoag, led by Chief Massasoit, entered into a peace treaty with the Pilgrims, believing it would ensure mutual protection and coexistence. At the time, the Wampanoag were recovering from devastating epidemics brought by earlier European settlers, which had wiped out much of their population. Their alliance with the Pilgrims was born out of necessity. They sought to bolster their strength against rival tribes. Initially, the Pilgrims relied heavily on Wampanoag support, but as their colony grew stronger, they began to encroach on native lands. The settlers viewed the treaty as a temporary convenience rather than a long-term commitment. Over time, they seized Wampanoag territory through deceit, coercion, and outright violence. By the 1670s, tensions exploded into King Philip's War, named after Metacom, son of Massasoit. This brutal conflict decimated the Wampanoag and marked the beginning of their near-total displacement from their ancestral lands. The so-called First Thanksgiving was less a celebration of friendship and more the prelude to betrayal and dispossession, symbolizing the exploitation of indigenous generosity. The story of the First Thanksgiving.
I remember watching a video at least 3 years ago. How they were saying it was multiple different Thanksgiving stories. Like, this wasn't like the typical, they had made like a treaty and then they were betrayed. Like, there was actually years later, there was like a lot of killings that occurred on Thanksgiving, like a lot of different battles. So it's very interesting. Like, nobody has for real, supposedly. Now, there's like different arguments as to what's the original Thanksgiving, but majority of Thanksgivings were bloody.
My dad is a Black Studies historian. If you need to know anything about history, he's the one to go to. And today he's going to break down the true history of Thanksgiving for you guys. Not only does he have his degree from Amherst College, he got his master's from Harvard, and he got his PhD from Boston College.
The Thanksgiving holiday started on October 2nd, 1863, when President Abraham Lincoln signed into law that the third Thursday in November, would be set aside as a day of Thanksgiving. Now, if you know about that time period, this was happened less than 2 weeks after he signed the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation. It was the time when the nation was still engaged in what's called the Civil War. And while the Thanksgiving was for reconciliation, for a way for the nation to come together, it was Black people who gave it its real meaning. And over the next 2 years, when the war ended, it was Black people who used that time to celebrate family. Because after the war, people were reconnecting families, building communities. And so the Thanksgiving holiday for Black people became a way to celebrate that, to celebrate family and community, and to come together. And that was the real meaning of the Thanksgiving for them. Mid-1870s, schools like Harvard University and others began playing their rivals in football on that holiday. And that's what connects football with Thanksgiving. Around the 1890s, during the time when immigration from Europe was at a peak in America, and you had the old guard, folks like the Mayflower folks, worried that America was losing its character. That's when they began to push the story of the Pilgrims and the first Thanksgiving with the indigenous population of Native Americans in Massachusetts. And they put that in there to try to create this idea of special America. But it was also a time when, in the 1890s, they were placing Indians on reservations and pretty much pushing them out of the society at the same time that they were trying to celebrate this idea of a holiday with Native Americans. But it was also the time when what's known as the lost cause had reached its peak. And that was the idea that the Civil War was a fight between soldiers from the North and South, and it was a noble cause, and so forth and so on. And they were pushing Black people out of the history of that time period, and pushing them out of the history of having started Memorial Day, and, and the way that Thanksgiving was celebrated. So if you buy into complaining about Thanksgiving because it's, Thanksgiving they stole from the Native Americans, and you're buying into a history that tries to erase black people, and it also tries to create the noble savage out of the Native American. And it's not the right image that we should be thinking of. And the one last thing is that in 1926, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, they decided to end it with a float of Santa Claus, which led into the shopping for the holiday season. And that's why you get shopping the day after Thanksgiving. All of this was created and took away from the original meaning of reconciliation, of families coming together, of celebrating one another.
Period. And that's why we need education reform, because they didn't teach us that.
So I learned something new today. I did not. Okay. It's not a surprise that black people had played a major role in shaping Thanksgiving. Now, do I believe that Thanksgiving itself, did not have anything to do with the Native Americans? No. Because the way that the world works is that there's always a truth and a lie. And I really don't believe that the Native Americans did not have something to do with it. Because from what he said, Thanksgiving started after Abraham Lincoln had signed it in, right? So what happened? So for Abraham Lincoln to make this into a holiday, that means that this was something that had happened previously. Kind of like with Christmas. Christmas was not an official holiday in America until it was made an official holiday in America. But it was already being practiced before. You see what I'm saying? So with Thanksgiving, it was already being practiced before. And before it was made into an official holiday. So when it was being practiced before, what was the history of that? Because after it was made an official holiday, then black people, according to what he said, started making it into a celebration. So what was Thanksgiving beforehand? Was it like a lot of people have said? I mean, you can't deny the history though. Many people have said how Thanksgiving was a violent day for the Native Americans, and we can't deny that history. However, we can agree that maybe the modern day rendition of Thanksgiving being a day of thankfulness came from black people, and the actual origin may have been a celebration that white people commemorated. We don't even know if it was really on the same day like that. But that's just some theories. I'm not 100% sure. He definitely educated me on more facts about the day.
Do not wish me a happy Thanksgiving. Let's not do that. I know you mean good, but please do not wish me a happy Thanksgiving. Let's not do that. Thanksgiving was nothing but a setup for genocide. That's all it was. A strategy for the Native Americans to drop their psychological guard so the European could genocide them, steal their land, enslave their people, and pass diseases into their community. It is a contradiction for American Africans with all we've been through. Having suffered the worst human tragedy in history, it is a complete contradiction for us to turn around and celebrate with the white man the genocide of the red man. I'm going to say it again. It is a complete contradiction for African people, especially American Africans, to celebrate with your oppressor their extermination of the red people. How they gave the red people diseases and enslaved them, significantly reducing their population, stealing their land, giving out false treaties. Please don't wish me happy Thanksgiving. Please do not wish me happy Thanksgiving. If you're celebrating today, you're celebrating the genocide of the Native Americans. You could cut the cake however you want to cut the cake. You can slice the cake however you want to slice the cake. You can bake the cake however you want to bake the cake. If you're celebrating today, you're celebrating the genocide of Native American peoples. I will not be party to that. I will not be party to that. Do not wish me a happy Thanksgiving. Let's not do that. I know you mean good, but please do not wish me a happy Thanksgiving. Let's not do that.
You see, the way that TikTok has it, I can't even see when it restarts. He ain't lying. Don't wish me a happy Thanksgiving. I had told my family that I don't celebrate holidays. Every time you look up these holidays, there's just something else. I just follow the holidays from the Bible and just call it a day at that, because at least I know with the Bible I don't have to worry about witchcraft being integrated into it. I don't have to worry about it being veneration of some god. I don't have to worry about it being some connection between life and death. Like I don't even have to worry about all of that. I just celebrate the holy days of the Bible, have celebrations with the family like that. Because these worldly holy days or holidays, you want to call them, there's always something dark around it. I kid you not. So don't wish me a happy Thanksgiving. It's not a happy day.
Happy Thanksgiving. I can't wait for the whole world to spend time with their family.
Not everybody's going to have a happy Thanksgiving this year.
Why would someone not have a happy Thanksgiving? Now's the time for family bonding.
Well, divorce rates at an all-time high.
Good.
People are more divided than ever.
Good.
People are cutting off their family members.
If you cut off your family members, then you're the problem. You should never cut off your family!
The people that typically say never cut off your family members doesn't have toxic family members that they can't be around.
But at the end of the day, you should always forgive your family members. No matter what happens, they're still family.
Okay, so if somebody's horrible to you over and over again, you keep forgiving him, then what do you do?
Then you forgive them one more time! They didn't mean it!
This shows that you've never had to deal with this in your life.
Well, of course, my family's not divorced, and I received love my entire life. I've never been brutally betrayed by a family member repeatedly over and over.
I think it's better to understand that people have differences, and it's just better to acknowledge that not everyone's going to be having a happy Thanksgiving, and that some people will be
They
alone.
should pick up the phone, call their family, and make amends. I'm trying to be positive, but everybody else is being
Well, this is just the reality of America now.
What, people spending the holidays alone or in small groups? What's the solution
I
then?
guess we'll have to figure that out together.
After listening to what you had to say, I think that is too late! 2025!
Bro.
I can never understand how somebody else's situation could be different than mine.
Happy Thanksgiving to those spending it alone or with a small group of people. The divorce rate at an all-time high. It's hard to get families together during these times. I just
That's
wanted
facts.
to say
He ain't lying, though.
You matter. I hope you have a great day on the day of Thanksgiving. You matter. You are important. You are loved. You are loved. Have a great day on the day of Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
That was hilarious. but he's not lying, right? Like, Thanksgiving is not the same nowadays anyway. Like, it's not the same. It's not the same as like in the early 2000s. I don't know if it's my age or what, but what I expected when I got older was just such a connected family. And when he's talking about with divorce, like, it's so true. Like, when your parents get divorced, it's like the whole family splits up. There's no reason for everybody to get together. I'm a child of divorced parents, if you don't know. And it's like there's no glue. There's no glue that holds us together. Even if it wasn't for Thanksgiving or for Christmas or something like that, there's nothing that makes us want to really, there's nothing that really forces us to get together. And I don't feel like me and my siblings are all that close anyway. At least I don't feel like I'm all that close to my siblings. They're older than me or whatever. But the kind of centerpiece would be my parents, and that doesn't exist anymore. So the whole holidays especially don't really have any meaning to me. Like, I don't feel this urge to celebrate the holidays like I used to when I was younger, because there's no family. There's no family aspect to it. I mean, but this is hilarious because this is how people really act. Like, when you tell people issues, there's always some type of stupid response like that. Like, the people just... What is he doing? Like, there's always some type of crazy response like this whenever you try to explain something that's going on in your life. It's like, well, you should just talk to your family. Like, don't be prideful. Like, you gotta stop being prideful and just talk to them and make amends and blah 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 blah. It's like, they just, like, some people just cannot understand why you don't want to talk to certain people in your family. It's crazy, and they will make you seem like you're the enemy.
Okay, so I got a lot of comments in my last video wanting an in-depth explanation about the history of Thanksgiving, so let's do it. So in public school and in Hollywood and the Western media, they portray this false narrative that Native Americans and Pilgrims, also known as colonizers, came together to celebrate coexistence with one another. The history of Thanksgiving dates back to 1621, and it included the colonizers and the Wampanoag people. This image here, it's like a false
false narrative that they're peaceful coexistence, when in reality, the native people of this land were not only colonized, but they were killed. It was President Abraham Lincoln who declared Thanksgiving a national holiday in 1863. This was happening during the Civil War. He set the Thanksgiving date to the final Thursday of every November. Reality is that Thanksgiving roots off celebrating the genocide of Native Americans in this country. It's really important to understand that settler colonialism uses erasure as a tool to write history in a wrong way in the white perspective. So it's important for us to take our control back, take control of the narrative. Thanksgiving is also known as the National Day of Mourning to a lot of Native American and Indigenous people. Interested in learning more about the real history of the United States, I recommend you to start off with An Indigenous People's History of the United States by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. I definitely have learned so much from this book. It's another book that I highly recommend is An Afro-Indigenous History of the United States by Kyle T. Mays. It's another book that is also really accessible in my opinion. I invite you and I challenge you, this Thanksgiving dinner, talk about genocide. Talk about what's happening in Gaza. Talk about Palestine and talk about how in the United States, the government has done this to people already. Let me remind you that Native Americans are alive. And not only are we alive, but we're thriving. And this is our land, and we stand in solidarity with all Indigenous people all across the world. From Palestine, from Mexico. My name is Shayla. I'm an Indigenous activist living in DC. I'm here to speak the truth. Make sure to like and follow for more content like this, and let me know if you learned something in the comments. Okay, so I got a lot of
So she ain't lying. I did not know about the National Day of Mourning. That is insane. There's there's a group of people or an ethnic group, Indigenous Americans, who literally consider this day to be the day of mourning, and then we over here just eating up. Like, you know how crazy that is. I think somebody has said like Thanksgiving is like celebrating the apartheid. Like if South America made a day to celebrate the apartheid, wouldn't that be insane? But I hope you guys enjoy these videos. Tell your family some new information, and if you learned something new or if you got some cool facts to share in the comments so that everybody else can get some more knowledge, go ahead and comment below. I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe for more. Have a great and wonderful day. Don't celebrate Thanksgiving. Look into all these holidays, because all these holidays have some type of crazy, violent past. So yeah, hope you have a great one for day. Bye-bye.